parents yang ada anak yang ada condition, not just autism, anything kan, it could be anything, untuk build their own community, untuk berkawan. Dan I think kita boleh discuss juga apa manfaat lah.
Kawan yang saya ada memang tak ramai, tapi memang sangat rapat, right? So I'm not a big fan of big groups of friends, but I have a few who are very close and I can count on.
Saya memang suka to befriend new people. I'm very curious about people. I'm also quite, in a way, bold about meeting people because I actually enjoy it.
Hai, Assalamualaikum. Selamat kembali ke podcast Kita Family. Kali ini adalah episod ke-53. Saya, Didi, dan di studio di Kuala Lumpur, saya bersama dengan Desiree.
Hai, salam sejahtera.
Dan kakak SK.
Apa khabar?
Dalam podcast ini, podcast Kita Family, kami akan membincangkan perihal yang berkaitan dengan makna serta kepentingan hidup bermasyarakat, menghargai keunikan serta kepelbagaian sesama kita dan meraihkan masyarakat kita yang berbilang agama, kaum, kepercayaan, rupa dan juga keupayaan. Kita menghargai hidup secara inklusif yang mengambil kira keperluan segenap lapisan masyarakat, terutama bagi mereka yang kurang atau berkelainan upaya. Well, Desiree dan SK, kita baru saja menyambut anniversary pertama kita baru-baru ni. So, semua orang happy, tak sangka sampai ke tahap ni. 52 episod sudah kita publish dan hari ni episod ke-53. Jadi, sebenarnya kan, kenapa kita berlima ni boleh mula untuk ada podcast? Ada siapa? Desiree, SK boleh jawab tak? Kenapa? Macam mana? Apa hubungan kan? Desiree, SK.
I think saya rasa ini adalah antara cara kami dalam community building, kan? And of course, for me, it's also the persahabatan. And being the adik, memang saya ni sangat bertuah lah. Ada 4 orang kakak, bukan 1, 2 atau 3, tapi 4 kakak that have been on this journey lebih lama daripada saya. So for me is saya rasa lah how we've come together. Tujuannya number 1 community building dan juga because of persahabatan kami.
Apa yang come to mind ya? Sorry, Didi.
It's okay.
Bila Didi tanya tadi, saya teringat dulu-dulunya. Do you remember there used to be a series called 4 Sekawan? Actually kami ni 5 sekawan kan?
Betul? Betul.
And sebenarnya our relationship tu kalau saya ingat ya, originalnya start from a professional and parent punya acquaintance, and then that deepened and became really very precious to us now, to come together aligned to share our individual journey as Kita Family.
Tak ikutkan kan, macam mana lah nak boleh kenal Desiree yang duduk di Kota Kemuning kan, macam SK yang ada bisnes kan dekat KL. Kalau ikutkan macam kita punya path kan, life path tu tak akan bertemu kalau tidak kerana anak-anak kita. Betul tak? Langsung. Sebab background memang lain-lain betul lah. Macam tak adalah kita satu sekolah ke, satu profession yang sama ke, langsung berbeza. Bukan sekadar podcast lah. Maksudnya kita berkawan ni bukan tiba-tiba macam jom buat podcast baru kita berkenalan. Kita dah kenal way back. Dan akhirnya kita bersetuju entah kenapa untuk memulakan podcast ni. Tapi sebenarnya hari ini bukan kita nak cerita macam mana ataupun kita nak orang lain pun buat mulakan podcast. Tak. Tapi more to macam mana parents lain, kan parents yang ada anak yang ada condition, not just autism, anything kan, it could be anything, untuk build their own community, untuk berkawan dan I think kita boleh discuss juga apa manfaat lah kan. Mungkin ada orang macam, kenapa kalau anak you autistic, anak I autistic, like kenapa kita perlu berkawan kan? Dia tak nampak macam, sebab kadang-kadang macam diagnosis yang sama tapi dia punya level dia berbeza, minat pun lain, and that one I can really macam boleh attest lah, sebab anak saya 2 orang pun berbeza. So kalau anak orang lain pun lagi berbeza kan. Jadi macam kita rasa macam kenapa perlu mengenali orang lain, keluarga lain yang mempunyai anak yang mungkin mempunyai condition yang sama dengan anak-anak kita. Jadi saya nak mulakan dengan Desiree hari ni kan. Sebab dalam kita punya live show few weeks ago, episode yang lalu, Desiree ada cakap, Desiree susah nak buat kawan.
Betul.
Kan? Tapi ada tak kawan?
Memang ada. So even though like masa remaja ke masa muda lagi, lebih muda daripada kemudaan sekarang. Kawan yang saya ada memang tak ramai, tapi memang sangat rapat, right? So I'm not a big fan of big groups of friends, but I have a few who are very close and I can count on, right? So memang sebenarnya sebagai anak yang kecil pun I was very introverted. Kalau orang datang ke rumah, saya akan just say hello sebab dipaksa oleh ibu bapa, manners. Greet uncle, auntie, say hello and then you may be excused. So tunggu je, hello auntie, hello uncle, terus lari ke bilik dan tidak akan dilihat semula sehingga if it's night until the next morning only I'll come out from my room. So that has always been my nature. And to prove that point, I think tidak lama, beberapa bulan lepas, tak ingat bulan berapa, I was interviewed by a radio station regarding missing children, and I was a guest, and kawan ayah saya terdengar on the radio, and after he heard the interview, he called my dad and said, hey, I heard your daughter Desiree on the radio. And my dad pun memang proud lah sebab daughter dia kan sekarang dah ada podcast and all that. And he said, yeah, she also has a podcast. And then kawan dia pun balas, yeah. Then I found out that she has a podcast and all that. Tapi kan masa kecil Desiree ni tak bercakap langsung dengan siapa-siapa. And so my dad, being the proud dad that he is, balasan dia, I'm so proud of his response. So thank you, Daddy. He said, well, now she has something very important to say. So that's why, yeah. So I think that's my motivation lah. The motivation, walaupun memang like I said susah berkawan, what pushed me out of my comfort zone was, I think, the desire to want to help my child. Because I didn't understand autism enough, pushed me out of my comfort zone to actually berkawan. And it's not even a forced friendship lah kan. So it's not even that I'm masking ke, I pura-pura nak berkawan just to get the information. No. I'm a firm believer of sincerity as well. Right, so bila Hans didiagnose, and I think I dah share ni banyak-banyak kali lah, even if you see previous interviews on different platforms, I always say this, I couldn't find information that was relevant to the kind of autism Hans was experiencing. And I think any parent can attest to that. If you go in Google, you will never find the specific info about that specific autism that your child has. It comes from talking to people. So bila saya start keluar dari my comfort zone and literally keluar pergi visit centers, pergi jumpa kawan, start to tell people, hey, my son is autistic, just diagnosed, and the close friends that I have would offer, hey, I know so and so, dia cikgu, I know so and so, dia pun ada anak. So starting to reach out to people in that sense. And the other way that I also started making friends in a not so stressful way for me was on Clubhouse. So I think dalam lingkungan 2019 ada sebuah app, is an audio app, namanya Clubhouse. You can download it on your phone, and memang tak ada video lah, tapi kamu boleh bercakap dengan orang lain as long as you're in the same room. Kan? Dari mana-mana lah. So it could be from people anywhere in the world, as long as they have the app, they're in the same room, you can talk to them. And di situlah saya bertemu dengan ramai neurodivergent adults. And I actually felt very comfortable sebab in those conversations, diorang pun cakap memang susah untuk berkawan, right? But they felt not so intimidated because it's an audio app. Boleh je pakai baju tidur, and you don't have to wear your makeup, kan? Duduk santai-santai and just talk on your phone, kan? And I think Nori, Didi and I also, we started to host rooms there on Clubhouse, kan? And I would like to think that was our first step into perhaps reaching to where we are now. And whoever thought that we would get to this point. So that was another way that I started to make more friends. And of course, there's support groups, trainings that I've attended. So I think to sum it up, because cerita dia memang panjang sebab it's already been how many years? Hans is going to be 10. He was diagnosed when he was 2. So it's 8 years. Ini cerita panjangnya 8 tahun. So saya akan pendekkan. The short version is, I think the desire to want to help my child and to understand autism from his perspective pushed me out of that comfort zone to be willing to make more friends and learn from others.
Very interesting, kan?
Betul.
Kerana sebenarnya if I start where Desri tadi tu, my personality profile is quite the opposite. As a young individual, I remember one day, in fact, I was already in my 20s. And one day my father came back and he made this statement. So Quen, I met somebody who knows you. And that was just quite, in a way, typical of myself. Saya memang suka to befriend new people. I'm very curious about people. I'm also quite, in a way, bold about meeting people because I actually enjoy it. Yeah. Dalam itu, combined with my natural inclination to learn. Earlier I mentioned, kan, somebody mentioned to me, so when you are really a learn forward person, I love to learn about new things. Yeah. So combining learning new things, Desri was talking about going to learning events. So when Joshua was first diagnosed, I and Chokman, my husband, actually attended an international conference on autism in the States. And during that time, that experience of meeting other parents, meeting professionals, meeting educators, gave me hope, and again fed into my interest of meeting people, plus learning for autism, about autism for Joshua, all gabung dalam satu. And I discovered that when we are able to meet people who are seeking certain things, seeking information, seeking solution, is where we can connect lah. So sama ada dalam a common context of learning, or parent support group, or in fact also possibility maybe we volunteer together, kan? If we are called to volunteer to support a cause, maybe even join a run, that support, say autism. If you remember, there is everybody can run type of thing, of fundraising. So these are all the possibility lah. But it does need to match your profile, kan? And I need to say, kalau for parents yang maybe not sociable like myself, it is okay because the power of something like Clubhouse ataupun just social media also enable me, even for myself, to interact silently. Kan? We have now so many WhatsApp group. Yeah, it can be actually overwhelming lah. Tapi the digital media now also enable socialization at a comfortable pace.
Yes, so I'm glad you brought up the social media and texting bit. So that is also another thing that makes friendships easier for me, because we have texting, WhatsApp. So I remember when there was SMS, when it first came out, they charge you like some 20 cents per SMS or whatever, and then you have to learn how to keep the words short so you don't go into the next one. So I was very happy to have that option. So imagine when then I had a BlackBerry and then there was WhatsApp. So I actually communicate better on WhatsApp and email, and my friends who know me know that, right? So there's no pressure to have long conversations on the phone. Yeah.
But learning parent to parent for me was one of a very important start in my learning about autism and connecting to the community. One of the, I would say, top value socialization for myself.
Yeah, that's very interesting kan. Sebab masa anak-anak saya kecil kan, I think the first group that I joined, Autism Malaysia, Facebook group. So kita kan nampak ramai parents buat sharing. So kita identify, oh this parents, anak dia macam anak saya, tapi anak dia dah umur lebih ni lah, lebih remaja lah. Masa tu anak kita kecil, anak dia dah sudah bersekolah. So bila orang yang selalu share dekat Facebook tu, selalunya orang yang friendly, dia open kan, sebab dia dah mula bercerita tentang diri dia. Jadi bila kita tegur kan, kita mula hantar personal message kan, PM. They are very always very friendly tau, macam excited nak share. Ada orang yang berminat nak tahu kisah dia secara peribadi. So jadi saya identify kan few parents, oh yang ni keluarga ni duduk pun dekat, dan kita mungkin mula-mula jumpa masa perjumpaan persatuan kan. Lepas tu we get to know them personally, and dengan tidak malunya menjemput diri, especially kalau raya lah kan, not the first day of raya, mungkin dalam bulan-bulan raya ataupun bila-bila pun cakap, oh kak boleh tak saya sekeluarga nak datang ziarah, nak berkenalan. So we went to some families, and these families kan, bila kita pergi rumah mereka, kita ni masa tu anak kecil lagi, anak baru 4 tahun 5 tahun, belum masuk sekolah sekolah rendah lagi kan. They would readily, seronok sangat bercerita pengalaman mereka daripada anak kecil sampai anak dah sekolah, macam mana the challenges, the experience, and memang macam orang selalu rasa macam, oh kalau kita nak berkawan ni cari orang yang dekat-dekat lah, senang nak jumpa. But we made an effort where this family they live in Terengganu. So masa tu kami balik beraya di Kota Baru, Kelantan. Tapi we were like macam, oh no, we it's hard to come from KL to Terengganu to visit someone new, right? But because we were in Kota Baru, so I said to my husband, oh let's make a plan. We drove to Terengganu from Kelantan on the way back to KL to get to know this family. So we really did, and it was, I think, the first week of Raya. So we kind of like had like a Raya and first time meeting personally, and we learned a lot from the family. Memang readily we called this couple Kak Long and Abang Long, because they are like among the pioneer in Autism Malaysia. So they were affectionately called Kak Long and Abang Long. So we went to Kak Long and Abang Long's house and got to learn a lot lah. So I think making friends ni, we really have to put effort, and it's not about macam kita nak ambil kesempatan ke apa, but ramai sebenarnya parents yang anak dah besar ni, they have a lot to share kan. And they're very happy. Bukan kita lah, I mean like masa muda lah. Parents yang younger parents with younger kids. Kalau datang nak belajar, nak kenal-kenal, nak dengar cerita tu, mostly they are very happy lah to share their stories. And of course, having to move from KL to KK, it's been 14 months like that. It's a challenge for me to make new friends here. Takkan duduk sini tak ada kawan kan. I know we have all this phone, WhatsApp kan, where tak rasa pun duduk jauh. Tapi of course I still make friends over here among autism mum, just to feel that we are part of the community. Takkanlah macam dari KL tak nak kawan lah dengan orang sini. Tak boleh lah macam tu. But it wasn't, I'm not saying it wasn't easy. It has to be intentional, and you have to plan lah. You like macam how to make friends, how to be out there, so that you can be part of the community and make new friends here and wherever you are lah. And I'm sure, like both of you now, like, do you have more than 10 autism mum friends?
For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Multiple kan?
Yes.
Yeah, I think for all of us sebenarnya. So parents actually, again, I can't emphasize enough lah. Memang resource yang amat penting. Yeah, very valuable. Many parents are very happy to share. I believe adanya mungkin not so bold to share to a big group. But many, when we ask, boleh cuba one-to-one dulu, thicken our skin lah. At best, dia kata tak ada masa kan? So just thicken our skin sikit and just ask. And I believe many of us as parents will take time. That's the key one, to organize the time that even a phone call, I've had one-to-one phone calls very late at the night, because only after anak kami rehat.
Yep.
A long day, but having even sometimes just to listen kan, to possible solution can reduce lah beban ourselves. Yeah, don't carry it ourselves.
Yeah, so one person that I think I really learned the value of friendship with a fellow parent going through the same journey is actually Nori. So the first time I met her, I remember I was covering a story for a parenting portal. She just opened her new gym in Damansara at the time. And so I went, I looked at the place, and then as I was about to leave, then I congratulated her. And I said, I was very touched that she's doing this for the B40 community. And I said, I wish I could do more. And then she said, what do you mean? I said, I'm a parent myself. And she said, you're a parent? Oh my God, I'm just going to give you a hug. And she did. Right? And that warmth, that was sort of I have goosebumps now. So that, I think she passed on a sort of energy to me that said that, the next time you meet a new parent, maybe, why don't you emulate this as well? So it's like paying it forward of sorts. So I received that from her. And after that, anytime I meet a new parent, I'm always friendlier than I usually am with anyone else, because even if sometimes certain parents are having bad days, they may not be as friendly, but I still continue to just maybe smile, because we don't know what's going on in their life, and that smile can actually make a big difference to their day. Yeah, so thank you, Nori.
We're missing her today.
Yeah. It's like, hey comrades kan, kita macam fellow autism mom, when we like get to know someone, because kita kan, we've been through, I'm not saying that we haven't passed the hardest, but we know that how hard it is in the beginning. It's not just a struggle, but not knowing much kan, masa tu memang we've been there. So yeah, hopefully now maybe we are not making more friends on a daily basis, but through this podcast, we're like extending hands to all the other parents to feel that you are not alone. Kan? With that, let's take a break. We'll come back in a short while. Hai, kembali lagi ke episod 53 kita Family Podcast. Well, Desiree, boleh tak share, ada tak tips on how to make friends bila kita dah jadi autism mom ni?
Terus ke soalan dia. Wow. I like that.
Yeah.
Actually banyak. So one of the ways is of course join parent support groups. Parent support groups sekarang ni ada banyak jenis. Whether it's on social media macam Facebook ataupun ada juga yang in the form of WhatsApp. And also, for example, I actually run a monthly support group discussion with my friend Saika from Bangladesh. We actually attended a training together and became friends after. And we thought we want to provide a source of support for parents. So the support group that we do, we find it unique because even if a parent starts talking about their child, because we always talk about our children, what can we do for them, how can we help them, but this discussion is specific for the parent. How do you help yourself? Ada ke apa-apa yang you nak luahkan? We don't record, we don't take notes, we don't take pictures. You can say whatever you want in a space with no judgment. So we try our best to do that once a month. Right? And this is also a source where sometimes it's a closed Zoom session. So some parents end up befriending each other through the chat as well. Right, so joining support groups is one. Another thing is like kakak shared earlier kan, when you go for conferences, likewise when you go for trainings, and bila kita buat training nowadays, a lot of the training sangat interaktif kan. So even untuk mereka yang susah berkawan macam saya, kadang-kadang kami terpaksa juga berkawan bila masuk ke breakout session, smaller groups, discussion, you have to do hands-on practice dan sebagainya. So this is where sometimes you can find people that maybe you can relate to and build friendships from there. And certain trainings when we go, after that, kan WhatsApp group ni sangat popular kan sekarang. Siapa sini ada kurang daripada 10 WhatsApp group dalam phone dia sekarang? Sila angkat tangan. I'm sure we have more than 10 kan. All of us have so many WhatsApp groups in our phone. So any training that we go for, I guarantee lepas tu mesti ada at least 5 different WhatsApp group is formed by different groups. So that's also one of the way that you make friends. And in my case, I used to make a conscious effort, and I still do, to attend autism awareness events. And from there, attending, eventually invited to give talks. And when you give talks, memang people end up coming up and speaking to you even if you don't go and speak to them, which is how I met kakak actually. I was giving a talk for the Kiwanis Malaysia Academy Sense Symposium, and kakak texted me in the chat, sent me her phone number, and then I think I texted you after that, right kakak? Yeah, and then only later we realized that we both knew Nori.
That is my friendship ability. I'll just go forward.
Go ahead.
So just to add to a couple of that, kalau anak kecil, we do play dates.
Yes.
Kan? Not to forget, play dates are time to come together for parents, again, for parents, focusing on parents, to share, to meluar, and make that touch point acquaintance that can become friendship. And just to add to meeting other peoples at training, making ourselves available, bukan saja ibu bapa that you can meet. Didi tadi, when we were chit-chatting, we actually start to connect with other professionals who are also attending training. That can be very useful to help us sharpen our own understanding. Sama ada they are educators. There could be other therapists kan. So as we were talking about learning on Zoom, online, what is starting to return now is the in-person training and workshops. Personally, I love the hybrid. Yeah, we have experience where you learn certain factual things online to save time and so forth. But meeting and learning in person is that a opportunity to connect socially, very importantly, not just factually. Because as we know, as parents of neurodiverse anak-anak ni, complex sangat. Yeah, topic is so vast. Yeah, from health to education and to self-care. Right. So it's very important, again, as a reminder for myself and for ourselves as parents. It is who you know, actually, that I personally will value. Who you know, not who's famous, yeah? So who you know, who want to connect, that can support us all the time. Not just what you know. Yeah, the what is just part of that time together je.
Betul.
Didi, what did you experience when you, of course, like many of my adik-adik here in Kita family, I love you because you've always demonstrated your desire to learn, to upskill. When I meet you all at all the different trainings at Oasis or at somewhere else, share with us, Didi.
Masa first training yang I attended dekat Oasis Place, Kim Battle, masa tu of course kita nak jimat kan. Okay, tengok ada combo kalau pergi 3 orang dapat murah sikit, so call up lah mana kawan-kawan, come like jom join me 3 orang, okay kita dapat murah sikit. Itu kawan yang sedia ada, yang I managed to convince to join me. And then of course at the training kita kenal kan therapist, parents lain. Therapist ni not just therapist from Oasis Place, but therapist from other center yang datang kan. And I kind of like betul-betul berkawan lah. Even until now, follow them on their social media. Even Amy attended one program at one of the therapist place where I know from the training juga. So we really developed friendship from that. And I think I want to share with other parents. Kadang-kadang kita fikir dia kena intentional, pergi training, kita nak berkawan dengan orang dekat training kan. But firstly, yang hari-hari kita pergi dekat sekolah, EIP center anak kita, I think important to make friends with parents yang hantar anak di situ, ataupun tempat terapi kan, terapi yang kita ni sambil tunggu anak sedang terapi tu, kita dekat luar we chit-chat lah, make new friends. Mungkin after a while I'm not as macam eager sangat, slow down sikit lah. Tapi mula-mula dulu memang we tried to make friends, sebab kita pun tak faham kan autism tu apa, and we felt lonely and rasa macam anak kita je, because dalam family pun tak tahu ada tak among our extended families yang ada anak autistik ke tak at that time. So I think it's important to make friends di mana kita selalu berada physically, because lain kan kawan fizikal dengan kawan yang kita boleh contact through WhatsApp je. So kawan yang kita boleh have coffee with masa anak dalam session terapi tu, yang tu sangat valuable, sangat berharga lah at the beginning of our journey kan. Macam betul-betul macam be just so anak-anak dalam terapi, so masa minum kopi tu okay, anak-anak is were well taken care of, tak risau pasal anak-anak. So just gosip pasal artis ke apa ke, not be a mother for a while. Tapi sebenarnya sama-sama anak pun ada ni kan, ada condition. So that's how I started making friends. And after that, going to social media, join the actual persatuan, not just the Facebook group, because kan macam kalau orang DM kita personally pun macam kita pun macam sekarang ramai scammer lah apalah, so I tried to be careful about that, but berkawan bila dah join persatuan, attended lah their activities, dia daftar jadi ahli persatuan, pergi AGM, dia mesyuarat agung tahunan, and naturally become AJK. But we were out there berkawan, and somehow tiba-tiba bila dah join kan, pergi aktiviti persatuan tu, ramai je rupanya yang these parents yang anak-anak yang dah lebih dewasa daripada anak-anak kami, yang rumahnya dekat saja, like literally like neighbours lah, dalam satu taman yang sama, mungkin kondo sebelah. So sebenarnya macam we wouldn't know kalau tak pergi attend all these events kan, all these programs, ada je. Sebab yalah, bila anak-anak yang pergi terapi sama tu sama-sama anak masih muda, but then bila kita pergi aktiviti persatuan ni, kita boleh jumpa family yang anak-anak lebih besar. So the same thing I did bila nak mendapatkan kawan baru di Kota Kinabalu. So kami pindah di sini end of December 2024. 2023. So the whole 2024 we were here. So bulan 8 2023 we made a visit because we wanted to decide lah whether we want to move as a whole family ataupun hanya my husband pindah dan kami saya dan anak-anak terus kekal di Kuala Lumpur lah. Tapi masa tu bila pergi kan, I purposely pilih date yang ada program autism di Kota Kinabalu. Ada program by Persatuan Sabah Autism Society. Mereka buat di UMS. So saya register. Dan kita plan untuk 5 hari datang tu. 1 hari tu ada program. So saya pergi dan berkenalan lah. And masa tu kami mempunyai masalah mencari agent, agent apa kita panggil? Property agent, real property, nak cari rumah sewa kan. Jadi kami ada masalah di situ. So what I did, bila saya dah daftar, kita daftar kan sekarang ni, nak daftar, we had to contact someone through WhatsApp. Okay lah, dah contact through WhatsApp, bagi detail, buat payment. And then bila dah sampai sini and kita ada masalah dengan agent property yang kita dah contact sebelum tu, kami pun saya macam saya tanya je lah because this is one person that I'm already in contact in KK. Belum jumpa lagi masa tu. Belum lagi hari program tu lah. The day after tu baru ada program. Tapi I tanyalah, I cakap, ada tak dalam kalangan community ibu bapa anak autism, community autism di Kota Kinabalu ni, yang mungkin bekerja sebagai property agent, sebab saya perlukan rumah sewa. And they said, okay, ada satu contact. And bila saya sampai pada hari program tersebut di UMS, of course they were like, yeah, you are Nick Didi kan, daripada KL apa semua, dah introduce. And tiba-tiba kata, adalah, kita ada agent yang memang ada di situ. Dia pun datang. Dia she is part of the AJK of the Persatuan lah, the Sabah Autism Society. Her name is Joanne. So dia kata, Joanne property agent. So I got to know Joanne, and Joanne yang bantu kami dapatkan rumah. So I think we don't just look at having being in the community not just as friends, but in a business sense as well kan. So bila kita nak reach out, kalau kita kata contoh we need a caterer, mungkin kita boleh cari juga caterer yang ada family, because we know the struggle of having a special needs children kan. It will cost more apa semua. Why don't help them in a business yang memang kita perlukan pun. It's not macam business yang macam main-main je, memang perlukan rumah, and why not? And not just that, she has been a fantastic friend to me, and not just Joanne, I got to know other autism mom in KK as well. So I think intention is one, and the spirit of being in a community kan, kita macam kalau community ni family. kita kalau nak bantu, nak minta tolong or anything, kita minta tolong dengan keluarga dahulu. So community pun sama jugalah. That's how kan kita dengan apa ni kan, kalau ada business yang apa ni, we give it to our friends. So this is what friendships are lah. So yeah. So I'm happy that I have friends here. Don't worry guys, I do have friends in KK.
We still miss you.
We have some competition, is it?
Didi is everywhere now.
Kan, yeah.
And also Didi is going to another podcast soon.
Yes, we must tell us more about that. Yeah.
Yes.
Tapi Didi, can I
Yeah.
Can I pick up tadi about what you share? Actually, selalunya we make friendships to find out about our children, for our children. What you reminded me tadi, jangan lupa when we network tu also for us as an adult, as an individual, as a parent. Yeah, this self-care thing, that networking, that learning pun for ourselves. Yeah. So sebagai contohnya, what we found very fun and successful. So one of the activities hosted is this friendship program called Best Buddies Malaysia, where there's activity to match friends for a typical individual and a neurodiverse individual. However, there was a hiking activity a hiking day. And we intentionally have just a group for parents saja. Whilst the individuals who were attending the hike was having that inclusive setting. What we noticed was the parents really enjoyed just chit-chatting, networking, having that bit of their me moment. Yeah, so that really encouraged us to remember when we are doing activity or learning, we can also create intentionally something for just the parents at that same time to build relationships. Yeah, so that is something we truly enjoy and will do more. So in May, when Best Buddies is going to go hiking, please parents come and join. Yeah, come and network.
Desiree kena pergi gym
great
dulu,
initiative
build the endurance first.
Boleh punya.
Yes,
Yeah.
then I should join hiking.
Yeah.
Yes, pergi hiking pula. But yeah, because kan the basis of building a friendship is having common ground, common interests. So yeah, but although the friendship is built because of autism, but macam kita lah, we don't just talk. Memanglah in our podcast we talk about being a mom and everything, but outside of this podcast we don't just talk about autism all the time, kan? We talk about other things as well. So
Which we shall not reveal. Yeah.
Tak boleh tahu saya.
Yeah.
Tapi itulah macam apa? We learn it kan dalam the 10 things that we said that we have learned, that you are not alone, and then don't lose yourself and stuff. Yeah. And kakak, yes.
I also want to shout out sebenarnya before I forget. Yeah, in that same spirit about where parents can do activity together, and the individual, the neurodiverse group can do something together, is this group called AIM, Autism Initiative Malaysia. Yeah, they are very active parent support group. Tapi dia punya activity sangat menarik, because they will have one group that the parents alone, and one group where their children, and these are higher ability individuals. They are teens and adults. There is a moderator between the two group, but they also practice yang the neurodiverse individuals, no parents can go and kacau, right? So I think I like to shout that out. Go to their Facebook. This is another platform lah, both for they are already teens and adults. A nice platform where parents can connect. A support group in a different way. So the parents group, they call them the autism support group.
Is this Aim High?
This is Aim High. Aim High. In 2018, the history. Yemi Ang, who promoted it. She's a really highly respected. Yemi, this is for you.
Yes.
Thank you for really putting a lot of autism communities together. So if you all remember Dr. Daniel Leong, who is a very famous individual, a special educator, PhD. So he and myself co-chaired the first adult autism conference. It was like the coming out of autistic individuals in Malaysia. So Aim High since 2018 sudah jadi satu group yang sustainable that you can reach out both as neurodiverse individuals as well as parents group of those individuals. Thank you for allowing me to shouting that out.
Of course. So one more thing saya nak add pasal friendships. Kadang-kadang it can be challenging kan, sebab as we parent our children, ada banyak jenis intervention, ada banyak jenis approaches that we use. And if you're being honest about it, if you look in some of the WhatsApp support groups, ada je parents yang end up gaduh-gaduh in the group, right? But I think the message I want to get across is inclusion starts with us. As parents kan, we want our children to be included. Therefore, let's also be inclusive. It's okay kalau seseorang tu doesn't agree with our approach. Doesn't mean I tak boleh kawan dengan you, right? And I think the important point to remember is tiap individu, whether it's kanak-kanak ke dewasa, perlukan approach yang berbeza because they are individuals kan. So kalau approach A works untuk Hans, tak semestinya approach A works for Josh. Kan?
Absolutely.
But the approach A could work for Ofia, for example. Kan? So that doesn't mean I tak kawan dengan kakak, I kawan dengan Didi je, right? It's okay because it's a learning. And also the other thing is our children are very fluid as well in their development. Suddenly, approach A may not apply to Hans in the future, but an approach with, say, katakanlah I tak suka that approach, but it works for him 5 years down the road. Kan? So I think the message is in our friendships pun kena inclusive lah.
Absolutely. Well
agree
put.
to disagree sometimes.
Well put.
Yeah.
Need to stay together.
Yes.
Stronger together.
Unity.
Yes. So kalau tak ada kawan macam mana lah agaknya? Katalah someone said I don't need friend. Boleh ke kalau tak ada kawan? Rasa macam mana agaknya? Imagine like you, like after 8 years of having your son diagnosed, you tak ada kawan. All the kawan-kawan yang I pun tak ada, or Nori pun tak ada. How do you think? Like, can you imagine that?
Oh, I'll be a terrible person. I know I'll be grumpy, moody. Memang tak boleh berkawan langsung. So I know. I am grounded and calm and cheerful thanks to the support around me. So kalau tak ada kawan-kawan and the support system that I have, and the same support system also supports me in my ugly moments. Ugly moments yang marah, sedih, nak nangis sampai whatever. This is the support system that will lift me up. So memang I think I will not be able to function properly without my kawan-kawan now.
Yeah. So from my sharing is this, memang research ada fakta lah that isolation, kalau kesendirian tu will not do well for mental well-being. Yeah. However, we also need to respect how many friends socializing is very individual. Kalau ada pun seorang saja kawannya, that is already maybe suitable for some aspect of friendship. Yeah. So in the same way, we empathize with our children and learn to understand every individual is different. Socializing pun every individual needs pun tak sama. So my encouragement is being alone memang akan rugi, ya. Choose the friendship, the size, the frequency, as much as you can build the relationship. It's a two-way thing.
Yeah.
Kan?
Yeah, because kan one of the things to remain friendship is making follow-ups. Once you dah jumpa dekat training, you join WhatsApp group, you ada number, you ada. So I am guilty partly macam bila people come to me kan, bila jumpa dekat event ke program and they say, oh yeah, you need Didi kan, and then like introduce themselves and everything. I'm very bad at remembering faces. So bila tak ada follow up, tak ada kan, I'm so sorry kalau datang balik macam alamak and datang and cakap kita pernah jumpa dulu apa semua. I am so sorry. Tapi itulah, to build friendship is not just one meeting kan. So kena ada follow up so that macam this is the person. Okay, kita ingatlah the history, okay, where we first met, and then like what are the things that keep us going as a friend. Because I sampai sekarang ada kawan yang start dengan anak sama-sama pergi Permata Kunia, but now we ended up pergi travel sama-sama without the kids. We travel sampai pergi Australia, we pergi Ireland. So of course bila pergi tak semesti cerita pasal anak-anak, cerita pasal lain juga semua kan. But friendship kan where we can laugh together and also cry. Macam Desri cakap lah, like macam there are times that we want support, we want someone who can understand us and won't judge us for what we are saying, what we are sharing. Sebab kalau nak share pada orang yang tak ada anak autistic, mungkin tak faham kan, mungkin akan ada judgement. Sebab yalah, the knowledge, the awareness and the understanding on how the challenges that we are facing tu tak ada pada semua orang. So because kan kita selalu cakap empathy, but I realised that at the age of 42, like few years ago only, I realised that macam there are many things that kita rasa kita akan sympathy, kita boleh faham, kita ada empathy, tapi bila kita hadapi sendiri baru kita rasa what I thought that it could be was not the same as how we went through it. So all this while kita rasa macam kita rasa sympathy bila something happen to other people kan, tapi sebenarnya tak sama until we face it. So having friends that in the same boat, although there is this saying among autism parents, they say that we may not we may be in the same storm but we are not in the same boat. So kan, but at least kalau different boat pun, seorang naik yacht, seorang naik sampan, same storm, still ada common understanding, common kan, ada common ground lagi daripada orang yang tengah lepak-lepak di pantai yang sangat tenang tengok sunset. So that's a different life altogether. So friendship, I can't imagine my life without friends. And of course, very, very, very grateful. Sangat, what is in Malay? Like bersyukur. Grateful, bersyukur. Ada sahabat-sahabat yang itulah sekarang dah jadi podcaster kan. Itulah doing something yang tak terfikir pun. Kita bersama-sama jump onto this boat kan. This kita family boat pula. And yeah, I can tell our listeners, our viewers that we are supporting each other not just as podcasters but in our personal lives on a daily basis. So kalau tengok kita punya WhatsApp group tu, macam-macam cerita, macam-macam kan kisah-kisah anak-anak kita kan that kita share, kita celebrate sama-sama. Before the end, I would love to encourage everybody who are listening to this, watching this, to share the links to our YouTube videos, to our Spotify, to everybody that you know, especially families with neurodivergent children or divergent individuals themselves, or whoever that you think would benefit listening to our stories. And also please subscribe, like, share, and comment. And if there's anything that you want to ask us, also put on comment. Mungkin tak dapat tengok semua episod, tapi if there's any question dan kita telah menjawab dalam episod lain, of course kita boleh reply the comment and say that, oh okay, this particular topic kita dah bincang dalam episod sekian-sekian lah. We can help you with that as well. So follow us on our social medias as well, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We have TikTok, right?
Yes, we do.
TikTok as well.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube and Spotify. Keep supporting us. Make our second year better than our first year, inshallah. So last word from Desiree and Kakak.
I think smiles. A smile can be a start of a good friendship. So the next time you drop your kid off at school, if you see a parent you've not seen before, or even if someone you've seen before, just smile. Could be a start of a beautiful friendship.
Value friendships.
Yep. And when friendship is so lovely, it becomes family. Kita family. With that, thank you and see you again. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.